Hello everyone, welcome to Study IQ. In this video, I will bring to you the banking awareness for the month of June. This is part 1 in English. Let's start the video. Now the June banking awareness will be covered in two parts. So the number of parts I decide depending on the number of current affairs, the number of, and the type of current affairs. Sometimes to explain some current affairs, it takes a lot of time and then I increase the number of parts. But this time too will be sufficient. Okay. Now the May banking awareness I covered in 3 parts and April banking awareness I covered in 4 parts. So remember, this is set 1 and only one more set will come for the month of June. So let's start the video. And as always, we'll start with the RBI circulars. Now let's talk about the regulatory sandbox. Now what is a sandbox? So before you launch your product or service into the market, you test it. It is always better to test it in a regulated environment of the RBI. That is called regulatory sandbox. So sandbox is a facility which is given by the Reserve Bank of India. So fourth cohort of regulatory sandbox was launched recently. And what was the theme? Prevention and mitigation of financial frauds. So basically, RBI wants the fintech companies, the banks, etc. to work on preventing and decreasing or mitigating the financial frauds, and you test the solutions in RBI's controlled environment with respect to only these. So 6 companies were given the permission to test it. Here you can see the name of the company and the description of their product. So one company is Bhavan Cybertech Private Limited. They partnered with IDBI Bank and their product was called RT360 Real-Time Monitoring System, which prevents frauds. And the second company was NapID CyberSec Private Limited. They partnered with City Union Bank and their product is called NapID Fraud Filter Layer. And then we have some fintechs called Trusting Social Private Limited. They partnered with Proteum Finance Limited and Finovation Tech Solutions Private Limited to test a product called Trusting Social Credit Insight. So these were all tested, right? So all the entities have now exited the fourth cohort of the regulatory sandbox. So RBI is, the products were found acceptable to the RBI. Like all of these products were tested in a controlled environment. When I say controlled, I mean under regulatory oversight of the RBI. So now these products will be launched in the market and there will be no problem because they have already been approved by the RBI in a regulatory way, right? So that is called regulatory sandbox facility. Now let's talk about a very important circular that came on 19th of June. And it was about the self-regulatory organizations for NBFCs. Now in my May video, I told about self-regulatory organizations for the fintech sector, that is called SROFT. Similarly, RBI has invited the applications for self-regulatory organizations for NBFC. So NBFCs, just like fintech companies, NBFCs are also regulated by the RBI. Okay, and RBI regulates banks also, and RBI regulates the fintech companies also. Basically, everything in India is regulated by RBI in the banking sector. Even NBFCs are regulated by the RBI. But what do the self-regulatory organizations do? They help in supervision. And I told you a lot of objectives and responsibilities and eligibility criteria, etc. of the self-regulatory organization. So self-regulatory organizations, they keep reminding their members on becoming compliant with the rules and regulations of the RBI so that they don't attract penalty. If there would have been a self-regulatory organization for Paytm and Paytm would be a member of it, then I'm sure RBI, it was not necessary for the RBI to take such punitive action for which Paytm suffered like anything. So self-regulatory organizations, how many will be there for NBFCs? There will be maximum 2. So remember, a maximum of 2 self-regulatory organizations will be there for the NBFC sector. Now, you know that NBFCs are of many types. There are so many different types of NBFCs in India. So does RBI want the self-regulatory organization for all the types of NBFCs? Well, RBI will not stop a NBFC from becoming a member of self-regulatory organization, but the focus is on 3 types of NBFCs. Which are those? So one is NBFC ICC, that is investment and credit companies. Second is the housing finance companies, also written as NBFC HFC. And the third is the NBFC factor, NBFC-F, which do the factoring business. So these are the three types of NBFCs that the self-regulatory organization is primarily envisaged for. So RBI wants these three types of NBFCs to become the members of the SRO. But if some other type of NBFC also wants to become a member, then RBI will not stop it. So self-regulatory organization may have other categories of NBFCs also as their member, but mainly it is envisaged for these three types. Now, what is the condition? The condition is that the SRO will have a good mix of all of these three types of NBFCs, right? And the small NBFC should also be a member. It is not like all the big NBFCs should become a member, the small one. So 10%, at least 10% of the member should be from the base layer of the NBFCs. Now, what is base layer? That I will explain. Now, you know that NBFCs are divided into four types. So one is the base layer, then we have a middle layer, then we have an upper layer, and then we have the top layer. Now in the base layer, you have the small NBFCs. Now what is the meaning of small? Well, small NBFCs means like, you know, the ones whose asset size. So the non-deposit taking NBFCs whose asset size is less than 1000 crore. They are in the base layer, right? And also some other types of NBFCs are also in base layer, like NBFC account aggregator, NBFC peer-to-peer lending platforms, P2P. All these are a part of the base layer. Then you have the middle layer where you have the larger NBFCs. So you have those NBFCs which are deposit taking, and you have those NBFCs which are non-deposit taking, but their asset size is more than 1000 crore or more. Those are all into the middle layer. And of course, then other NBFCs also are in the middle layer, like standalone primary dealers, like infrastructure debt fund, IDF NBFC, like core investment company written as NBFC CIC, even NBFC IFC, infrastructure finance companies. All of those are in the middle layer. Upper layer has those NBFCs which need more regulatory oversight by the RBI. Like if some NBFC is undergoing a small problems, so RBI will keep an eye on those. Those are put in the upper layer. And among the upper layer, if some NBFCs are doing really badly, like they have a systemic risk of shutting down or something, then those are put in the top layer. So top layer ideally should be empty, because you don't want any NBFC to fail, or but if those NBFCs which are on the verge of failing or have great systemic risk, then they are put in the top layer, because RBI will keep a very, very strong watch on that. So these are the four types of NBFCs in India, right? This is called scale-based classification or scale-based classification of the NBFC. So what is the RBI saying? RBI is saying, go ahead, let there be a SRO, but at least 10% of the members of the SRO should be from the base layer, so that I am convinced that even the small NBFCs are joining the SRO. Otherwise, all the big companies will be there, and I mean, you can't have all the big companies dictating things, right? The self-regulatory organization should also have the input from the small NBFCs. So at least 10% of the total number of NBFCs in the base layer should be there in the SRO as a member. Now, next thing, what if some company wants to become a SRO, right? Then what will be the minimum net worth? It will be 2 crore. And RBI is not saying that at the time of application you should have 2 crore, but within 1 year. So within 1 year after the recognition as a SRO by the RBI, you have to have a minimum net worth of 2 crore rupees within 1 year, right? Within 1 year. And then you have to maintain that net worth of 2 crore at all times. So that is what is this circular about. I hope this is absolutely clear. So yes, RBI wants SRO for NBFCs now. Maximum 2 SROs will be given the permission. Maximum 2 SROs for NBFC sector will be recognized by the RBI. Maximum 2 SROs, right? Minimum net worth 2 crore within 1 year of recognition, and 10% of the members should be from the base layer. And which NBFCs will be a part of it? So maximum it will be, the focus will be on NBFC ICC, housing finance companies, and NBFC factors. Now let's move to the other circular, which talks about cancellation of a bank by the RBI. It is called the City Cooperative Bank, which is a bank from Mumbai. And what happens when a license is cancelled of any bank? Basically, the bank fails, right? This is a fancy word, license cancelled, but simply means that it is no longer a bank. Now, what will happen to your deposit? Well, Up to 5 lakh, there is no problem because it is covered under DICGC. What is DICGC? So there was an act called DICGC Act of 1961, and DICGC means Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. So this organization gives you a guarantee that your up to 5 lakh will be returned. So let's say if you put 1 crore into the bank and the bank fails, license is cancelled, then what happens? So 5 lakh will be given to you, 95 lakh will be gone. Okay, only 5 lakh. So maximum amount that you will get back is 5 lakh. This is called DICGC as per the provisions of the DICGC Act of 1961. Now moving on, Government of India, they have a floating rate bond. Maturity period is 2031. So what is the interest rate that you will get for the next 6 months? Now it is called floating rate bond because on the bonds usually you get fixed interest rate, but here it is floating. So it keeps on changing every 6 months. And maturity period of this bond is 2031. So you will get 7.98% for the next 6 months. Now, how do they calculate this? So they take the treasury bill, the last 3 auctions of the 182-day treasury bill, let's say these are the 3 last treasury bill that were auctioned. They take the average of the interest rate offered on these 3 plus they add 1%. So 1% is the spread and it comes out to be 7.98%. Now in the, Government of India, they have recently auctioned securities worth 25,000 crore worth of face value. This happened on 24th of June. And you can see there were a lot of securities. Look at the maturity period, 2035, 31, 36, 51, 35, 46. So, I mean, very, very long duration maturity periods are there. So what 25,000 crore they were auctioned. Just remember the amount just in case they ask in the MCQ. Now let's talk about a circular that talked about the growth in the deposits of the scheduled commercial banks in India. Look, scheduled commercial banks in India, they showed growth in both the deposits and the loans. That is the credit growth, loans or advances, they also grew and deposits also grew, right? So what was the growth is said in the circular. Now bank deposits in the financial year 24, they increased by 13%. Bank deposits in India, they grew by 13% for all the scheduled commercial banks. 13% compared to financial year 23. So this I am talking about financial year 24 year on year. Year on year means we are comparing it with previous year. So in the financial year 24, bank deposits increased by 13% compared to financial year 23. Now what about the credit growth, the loans or the advances? So the bank credit growth was 15.3%, and this can come as an MCQ in the financial year 24. Compared to the financial year 23, the growth was 15.3%. Now you can see that the deposit growth is 13% and the credit growth is 15.3%, which means there will be the loan growth is more. So that is why the bank are gasping for deposits now. The deposits are not coming easy. Now let's talk about a circular that came on 3rd of June. Basically, the mutual fund companies. So there are mutual fund companies also known as asset management companies. Now technically they are different. Like you can say that mutual fund company is one type of asset management company, but for all practical purposes they are almost used interchangeably. The mutual fund company and the asset management company, so they need to do their reporting. So there is an annual survey. This is called Survey on Foreign Liabilities and Assets of Mutual Fund and Asset Management Company. So RBI wants to know all the mutual fund companies in India or asset management companies in India, how much is their foreign liability and how much are their assets. So this is an annual survey. It is done once every year. And these companies have to show the data to the RBI. Now, where will they share the data? So there is a platform called Flare. The website is also there, flare.rbi.org.in. Let me show you. I opened this and this came. So you can see the full form of Flare. RBI wants to know what? RBI wants to know foreign liabilities and assets. So foreign liabilities and assets information reporting system, or simply Flare. So Flare is a platform where the mutual fund and the asset management companies, they report their foreign liabilities and assets, and it is done in form of an annual survey by the RBI. Now there are 2 cooperative banks which are merging together. Okay, so both are from Telangana. One is called Yadagiri Lakshmi Narasimha Swamy Cooperative Bank, which is based in Yadadri Bhuvangiri district of Telangana, and the second one is the Gayatri Cooperative Bank, which is based in Jagtial district of Telangana. So both of these cooperative banks are merging together, and RBI has given them the power to merge under Section 44 and Section 56 of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Now let's talk about the hackathon. See, RBI started organizing this hackathon first time in 2022 it happened. The second edition of Harbinger happened in 2023. So this is the third Harbinger. Harbinger is what? Harbinger is a fancy name. Harbinger means it's a hackathon. Hackathon simply means you invite certain teams, you invite the participants, the teams, and you give them some problems, and they are expected to tell you the solutions. Now the solution should be innovative, technological, right? So what were the themes? So there were two themes. Zero financial frauds was the first theme, and these are the problem statements, okay? And being Divyang friendly. So here you can see, let's come to the theme number 1. So the teams were said you have to detect the frauds in the financial transaction real time using alternate sources of data, including publicly available information. So make something on that. Make a software or make up any prototype. Ensuring transaction anonymity in token-based transaction while maintaining financial system integrity. Identify mule bank accounts or payment wallets. Now, have you heard this word before? Mule accounts. So what are mule accounts? Mule account basically is a bank account that is used to facilitate illegal activities like money laundering or fraud transaction. So any bank account that you use for doing illegal activity is called a mule account. And recently even RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said that I warn you against mule account. You will not be spared, right? And banks must step up their efforts to identify the mule accounts. And this can happen when banks have a very robust IT infrastructure. Banks are using artificial intelligence now to identify the mule accounts, right? So mule accounts is an account that is used to receive and transfer the funds acquired illegally on behalf of others. So these are the problem statements. Now you come up with some solutions. So this was the first theme. Now second was being Divyang friendly. So the visually impaired people, the blind people, they should identify the banknotes. So devise an algorithm for that, digitally make an app or something with the help of which the visually impaired people can identify the banknotes. And winning team gets 40 lakh rupees. Now there is a special award for all women team to promote women empowerment, 20 lakh. And those teams whose idea RBI thinks is good enough for development of prototype, they will get 5 lakh. So these are the awards. And as I said, this was the third edition of the Harbinger. Now there was a speech of the Governor Shaktikant Das, Governor's statement, and I tried to find important data from the speech. There was some important things which I found. For example, there is this vision called RBI 800. Like, what is the vision for RBI 800? What is the meaning of, first of all, RBI 800? Now RBI started in 1935, and in 2035, which is not very far now, RBI will complete 100 glorious years. Now, RBI wants that by 2035, there should be 3 to 5 Indian banks in the top 100 banks of the world. So this is one target that they have. And there were other targets also, but those targets were not on which you can make MCQs. For example, India should be a leader and all those things that we expect from RBI, right? To say that India will be a leader and we will be a good economy, every person per capita will increase. All that is RBI 800. But for example, this I found it can become an MCQ, that among the 100 biggest banks of the world, how many RBI wants Indian banks to be there? So 3 to 5 by 2035, or RBI at 100. Now in his speech, I found a lot of data which can become MCQ. So for example, look at here, India's contribution to global growth. What is the meaning of this? See, whatever is the global economic growth happening in the world in 1 year, how much India's contribution is there? So it used to be 7% from 2000 to 2010, Then from 2010 to 2020, it was around 11.6% annually. But look at now, in the financial year 24, which has just ended, India's contribution to the global economic growth was 18.5%. And that is very, very good news. Whatever the economic growth happened in the entire world, India's contribution in that was 18.5%, which is a lot. So this can come as an MCQ. Okay. So I keep an eye on these things, you know. Now he also said that among the top 5 economies of the world, India has a relatively younger population. So if you compare it, India's median age, in 2021, the median age of India was 28 years. We are a relatively young country. If you see US and China, the median age is 38. If you see UK, 40. If you see Germany, 45. If you see Japan, 48. So demographic dividend is in our favor and will remain in our favor for foreseeable future. Now the core inflation. See, core inflation does not include food and fuel, because food and fuel prices, they change every day. They are highly volatile. But core inflation came down to 3.2%, which is very good. In fact, it is one of the best in the last 10 years. Then they also talked about the World Economic Outlook report of the IMF and the global growth and all those things. But again, those are not important from MCQ point of view. You can skip that. Now the real GDP growth, the GVA growth of India, all those things he mentioned. So you know that the real GDP growth rate of India in the financial year 24, it was 8.2%. Right? This is confirmed by the NSO, National Statistical Office. 8.2% we grew in the financial year 24. Now 8.2 was the real GDP growth. What was the GVA growth? So GVA growth was 7.2%. 7.2% was the GVA growth. Now tell me, in the financial year 24, what was the growth of the manufacturing sector in India and what was the growth of the service sector in India? So the manufacturing sector of India grew by 9.9% in the financial year 24. This is an important MCQ. And the service sector in India grew by 7.9%. And this can also be an important MCQ. Okay. Now tell me, the private consumption, you can also call it private investment, right? Whatever the money that consumers spend on themselves, that is private investment, private consumption. So private consumption in India grew at what percent? Tell me that in the entire financial year 2023-24. So in the financial year 24, the private consumption grew at 4% rate. This is very healthy. I mean, not that healthy, but still we grew. That is good enough. Because in such a scenario, the slowdown in the world, the consumer demand should increase. Otherwise, you can go in a deep recession. And what about the GFCF? What is GFCF? I explained in the last video also. This is gross fixed capital formation. So this is the investment that is done for creating physical assets. You know, factories, you know, machinery, all those physical assets. So GFCF increased 9%. And that is very healthy sign, which showed that India created a lot of infrastructure, a lot of physical assets. Understood that? Okay. So be very selective with data. You cannot remember all the data. Now, whatever the data I am telling you, you remember that. Now, what will be India's GDP, real GDP growth? Okay, real GDP growth in the current financial year, according to the RBI, 7.2%. Recently, they have increased. See, in the RBI annual report, it was different. But now RBI is saying 7.2%. This is the latest according to their latest monetary policy. And they said other things also, like we are expecting good monsoon and all those things, because they obviously affect inflation. These things affect inflation. Now, this is important. What was the gross NPA? I repeat, what was the gross NPA ratio of all the scheduled commercial banks of India? Well, it improved to 2.8%. Now, what was the net NPA of all the scheduled commercial banks of India when the financial year 24 ended? So the net NPA was just 0.6%. Now you can see there is a lot of gap between the gross NPA and the net NPA. What does it show? It shows that the banks made adequate provision. Provisioning was there, because the only difference between gross NPA and net NPA is the provisioning done by the banks. That's it. So the banks kept a lot of money as provisioning. And how do we know that the banks kept good amount of money for provisioning? Because look at the difference between gross NPA and net NPA. It is good enough, 2.8% and 0.6%. And there is one ratio which is called provisioning coverage ratio. So what is provisioning coverage ratio? So this is simply defined as provisioning done by the banks for the NPAs divided by the gross NPA into 100. Now, what should be the provisioning coverage ratio according to the RBI? It should be minimum 70%, which means that 70% of the gross NPAs should be covered by provisioning, right? So, how much is the provisioning coverage ratio? Tell me, provisioning coverage ratio of all the scheduled commercial banks in India at the end of financial year 24. It was 76.5%. Good. Because it should be 70% minimum. It is 76.5, which means what? Which means that 76.5% of the gross NPAs were covered by provisioning. Very healthy, very good. See, all this is an improvement in the banks of India. You know, the banks were making losses. If you see 10 years back, what was the status, what was the state of the Indian banks? Look at the provisioning coverage ratio, look at the gross NPA ratio, look at the net NPA ratio. You should remember these things. These are all MCQs. Okay, now let's come to the what was the gross NPA ratio of NBFCs? So banks, I've told you 2.8%, that is fine. What about NBFC? 2.5%. So the gross NPA ratio of the NBFCs of India was 2.5% at the end of financial year 2024. At the end of financial year 2024. What was the capital adequacy ratio? What was the capital adequacy ratio of all the banks of India put together? At the end of financial year, it was 17.4%, which showed that, I mean, for scheduled commercial banks, you know, it's 9%, no minimum. 17.4% shows that they are well capitalized, you know, they are not in any danger. So you can see 17.4%. And of course, I will cover these things in detail when I cover the financial stability report. That I will cover, of course, in the July video because it came at the end of June. Okay. Now, this thing also I liked in his speech. India, with an expected 15.2% share in the world remittance, will remain the global leader. You know, India receives largest remittances in the world, right? We received $111 billion something in 2022. We crossed 100 billion mark for the first time. Second was Mexico, third was China, blah, blah. All those things I've explained in depth in May video. Even in 2024, remittance, we will receive good enough remittance we will receive. It should be more than $100 billion definitely. And you know, global remittance, our share will be 15.2%. So whatever is the remittance globally, our share will be 15.2% in that. This is a projection by the RBI. Now this is something that is important. Bulk deposits. What are bulk deposits? So you know there are two types of deposit, retail deposit and bulk deposit. See, if you go in a bank, if you say please deposit my 20,000 rupees, they will say okay. But if you go in a bank and if you deposit crores of rupees, well, those are bulk deposit. Bank will give you a good deal. Bank will give you a stable interest rate. Bank will give you, I mean, they'll do whatever they can. So bulk deposits, what are bulk deposits? See, so far for scheduled commercial banks, and I'm not including regional rural banks in this because RRBs are also a type of SCBs only, but excluding RRBs, okay? For scheduled commercial bank, now it is 2 crore or more, but it has been increased now to 3 crore and more. So let's say if any person goes to a bank, if he deposits 3 crore or more, then it is called a bulk deposit. So it has been increased now. So single rupee term deposit means lump sum. If you are making a single rupee term deposit in a bank of 3 crore and above, then it is called a bulk deposit. Earlier it was 2 crore and above for scheduled commercial bank. Now it has been increased to 3 crore and above. And it is a term deposit or FD. You know, FD is a term deposit. Now, what about the local area banks and regional rural banks? So in the local area bank and regional rural bank, it is 1 crore and above. That will be categorized as a bulk deposit. If you are making a term deposit or FD in a local area bank or RRB, 1 crore or more, it will be classified as a bulk deposit. Understood that? So keep that in mind for MCQ. Now RBI is working on a digital payment intelligence platform, and I will tell you more about it because there is a committee for the same. So digital payment intelligence platform will be created by the RBI for what? For preventing digital payment frauds. It has a single objective, which is to prevent and mitigate digital payment frauds. So they are setting up digital payment intelligence platform. And digital payment intelligence platform will be set up by the RBI, and RBI has recently made a committee also to examine different aspects of this platform that I will cover as an MCQ in this video only, so wait for that. Now this is also something that I picked up from his speech. He said that e-mandate will be there for FASTag and NCMC also. Now why e-mandate was not provided for FASTag? So for example, I was traveling recently to some place, I think Chandigarh maybe, and my FASTag amount vanished and I had to pay double, because you know that if FASTag does not work, you have to pay double the toll tax. So I paid 190 rupees something instead of some 95 or something. So why e-mandate I could not do? Because e-mandate is not there on the FASTags. What is e-mandate? So if you have to pay Netflix bill of 800 rupees every month, you can set a e-mandate. It will be auto debited from your account. Now the problem is that, see, this is every monthly, no, it's a recurring payment. But FASTag is not a recurring payment. For example, if you are traveling today, you might travel next 6 months later. So it is not like it is a recurring one. It depends on when you travel. Same with National Common Mobility Card. You use it in metros, you use it in buses, National Common Mobility Card. So even though the periodicity is not there, that was the problem with e-mandate. But then RBI said that what we can do is there is a threshold amount that the customer can put, and once the amount goes below that, then automatically e-mandate will be activated. For example, let's say the amount in my FASTag is 4,000 rupees right now, and I put a amount that if it goes below 500, you put a e-mandate, so automatically it will be charged. So this will be convenient. It will make travel easy. Similarly with NCMC, it will make mobility related payment convenient. So e-mandate will be allowed for FASTag and for NCMC. Now e-mandate will also be allowed for UPI Lite. Brilliant. Brilliant. Why? What is UPI Lite first of all? UPI Lite. See, Lite means what? Lite means something smaller, no? So UPI Lite was started by the NPCI and approved by the RBI in September 2022. So in September 2022, we have UPI Lite. See, the advantage of UPI Lite is that you don't have to enter the PIN, annoying PIN. See, for example, if you are eating ice cream, you have to pay just 30 rupees payment, no? So now you enter a PIN, then after ice cream, you will feel like eating something more. So again, you pay 20 rupees and for that again, you enter the PIN. In UPI Lite, you don't need to enter the PIN. Okay, number one. Now in UPI Lite, what is UPI Lite is for small transaction. Now tell me, answer my 3 questions. The question number 1, what is the per transaction limit in UPI Lite? It is 500 rupees. See, you cannot pay more than 500 rupees through UPI Lite in one transaction. So if there is a costly ice cream of 510 rupee you are eating, you cannot pay it through UPI Lite. You have to pay through normal UPI and you have to enter that annoying PIN. Okay, so don't eat costly ice creams, eat ice cream which is less than 500 rupee. Okay. So the per transaction limit in UPI Lite is what? It is 500 rupee. Okay. Now the second thing, what is the maximum balance in your UPI Lite account or UPI Lite wallet that you can keep? It is 2000 rupees. You cannot keep more than 2000 rupees in your UPI Lite account at any point of time. This is the maximum balance that you can keep. Okay, 2000 rupees. Now tell me how much money you can spend through UPI Lite in one day. That is 4000 rupees. Which means you can recharge your UPI Lite wallet maximum 2 times. Maximum means maximum amount. See, how much money you can keep in your UPI Lite wallet? 2000 rupees. Now once this 2000 is over, you can recharge it one more time. You can put 2000 more. Because in 24 hours, the maximum amount that you can spend from UPI Lite is 4000 rupees. So be very careful when you answer the MCQs. Okay. First, how much is the per transaction limit? Just mark 500 rupee. How much is the maximum balance in your UPI Lite account? The answer is 2000 rupee. How much is the cumulative usage per day allowed in UPI Lite? It is 4000 rupees. That will make it easy for you. And then he talked about Harbinger and how proud he is for Harbinger and all those same things. Now let's, so I finished his speech now and I extracted a lot of data from his speech which I found useful. Now let's come to the monetary policy statement. Nothing has changed. I mean, everything is the same. Okay. The repo rate is still 6.5. Standing deposit facility is always 0.25% less than this, so it is 6.25%. Margin standing facility is always 0.25% more than repo rate, so it is 6.75. Bank rate is also 6.75 and reverse repo rate is 3.35%. Same, nothing has changed at all. And even the cash reserve ratio is same 4.5% and SLR is 18%. Nothing changes. Okay. Now, tell me, Monetary Policy Committee, how many members are there? There are 6 members. This you must be knowing. In Monetary Policy Committee, there are 6 members. Now, how many times do they meet every year? See, out of the 6 members, 3 come from the RBI and 3 come from the government side. And if there is a deadlock, then governor's decision, so governor has a second vote or the casting vote, which breaks the deadlock. Now, out of the 6 members, minimum how many have to be present in a meeting? 4. This is called quorum. If 4 members are minimum not present out of 6, then monetary policy will not be decided. Okay. Now tell me, how many times Monetary Policy Committee meet every year? Well, they meet every 2 months, so they meet 6 times. After every 2 months they meet? No, so they meet 6 times a year. But what is the minimum requirement? 4 times. So remember, it is mandatory for the monetary policy to meet minimum 4 times a year. They have to meet minimum 4 times a year. Monetary Policy Committee, okay? And minimum 4 members have to be present in the meeting. And governor has a second vote or the casting vote in case there is a deadlock. And which act says that there has to be a monetary policy committee to determine the repo rate and achieve the inflation target? It is section 45ZB of the RBI Act of 1934 that says that there will be a 6-member monetary policy committee, and the job of the monetary policy committee, one is to decide the repo rate or policy rate, and second is to achieve the target of inflation. Now, what if the monetary policy committee is not able to achieve the inflation target for 3 quarters in a row? Then it has to give a report to the central government and explain why they are not able to achieve the inflation target. Inflation has to be between 2 to 6%. This is the comfort zone of the RBI, 2 to 6%. So they have to submit a report to the central government. So the main job of the monetary policy committee is to control inflation. Got it? Now, and monetary policy committee, look, they have repeated the same things that were repeated in the speech of the Shaktikant Das governor. So for example, the real GDP growth rate, I told you 8.2%. The GVA growth rate, same 7.2%, right? I've already told you all those things. And you don't need to remember quarter wise growth, quarter 1 growth, quarter 2, quarter 3, all that is not required at all. Then real GDP growth rate projection. What is the projection for the current year? 7.2. 7.2. In the last monetary policy, they said 7%. When it came in April, they said 7% if you remember. Now they have increased it to 7.2%. And they also said that inflation is now under control. So what is the inflation target? That I will tell you. So the CPI inflation for financial year 25 is projected as 4.5%. 4.5% is the inflation target for the financial year 25. So here I finish the RBI circular. Now let's come to some other news. In fact, I explained some 2-3 circular which were after 15th of June, but that's okay. So Total Energy is a company from France. It is the biggest energy company of France. It has signed a deal with Indian Oil Corporation. This is a deal, 10-year deal. The deal starts 2026. Every year, Total Energy will provide 8 lakh ton of LNG gas to Indian Oil Corporation. So this is a deal for 10 years and deal will start 2026. Now let's talk about Adani Ports. Adani Ports, which has been added to the Sensex recently in replacing Wipro. Adani Port Company has signed a 30-year deal. It will operate terminal number 2 at the Dar es Salaam port. Dar es Salaam port is a port in Tanzania, which is a country in the East Africa, right? So Dar es Salaam port, terminal number 2 at Dar es Salaam port will be operated by Adani for 30 years. Now let's talk about a new company that has been floated, and it has been floated by 2 Maharatna company, 2 giants of India. So one is the Coal India Limited, which is a Maharatan company, and one is the BHEL, again Maharatan company. So Coal India Limited and BHEL, they have set up a joint venture company. In the joint venture company, 51% ownership is of Coal India and 49% ownership is of BHEL. What is the name of the company? So it is a subsidiary of Coal India and BHEL. For 51% Coal India, 49% BHEL. It is called Bharat Coal Gasification and Chemicals Limited, or BCGCL. This is a brand new company. What it will do? It will do coal to chemicals operation. Now what is coal to chemicals operation? See, from coal, you produce coal gas. This is called coal gasification. And this coal gas is used then to make chemicals. A lot of chemicals are made from coal gas. Coal gas is also called as syngas sometimes. So coal gas, and what is the target of India for coal gasification? 100 million ton by 2030. So we want to have 100 million ton of coal gas by 2030. So that is why this company has been set up. And another thing, Coal India Limited has partnered with GAIL. Now GAIL is another Maharatan company, by the way, and they are setting up coal to synthetic natural gas plant in the Sonpur Bazari area of Eastern Coalfield Limited in Bardhaman in West Bengal. And this is a project worth 13,052 crore. So this is an important MCQ. Now Adani One and ICICI Bank, they have launched India's first co-branded credit card with airport linked benefits. And it is available in two variants, Signature and Platinum, and it is powered by Visa. It is powered by Visa. So Adani and ICICI Bank, they have launched a co-branded credit card. First time in India, it is a card with airport linked benefits. Let's come to MCQs. Which ministry has launched a unified portal called National Health Claim Exchange to simplify the process of filing health insurance claims? If you have taken a health insurance and you need to file a claim, you can do it on this portal. And this portal has been recently created by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And this portal has been developed by National Health Authority, which works under the Ministry of Health in partnership with IRDAI, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. This will ensure faster processing of health insurance claims. And this portal has been developed under Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. What happens in Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission? Now, Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission was started in 2021. It is implemented by National Health Authority, and there is a 14-digit Aabha number which is given to every patient. Ayushman Bharat Health Account Number or Aabha number, which is a 14-digit number. Also, database of all the doctors, healthcare professionals, nurses is created. Data care of all the clinics in India, all the hospitals, digital data that is created. And Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is also run by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It is a central sector scheme, which means completely funded by the central government of India. Who among the following has become the Managing Director and CEO of NARCL, National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited? The answer is Mr. P. Santosh. P. Santosh, for 3 years. Now NARCL works with IDRCL. NARCL buys NPAs from the banks and IDRCL does the recovery. Both together are known as bad bank. So these are asset reconstruction companies, right? So what is the ownership structure in NARCL and IDRCL? See, in NARCL, the public sector banks, they have 51% ownership. In IDRCL, the public sector banks, they have 49% ownership. And the remaining 51 here is with the private banks, and here remaining is with again the private players, right? So NARCL will have 51% public sector bank shareholding and IDRCL will have 49% public sector bank shareholding. Now these are asset reconstruction companies, of course. Asset reconstruction company, what is the minimum net own fund requirement if you want to start a ARC? 300 crore. And if there is a ARC which also wants to do work as resolution applicant, then it is 1000 crore minimum net own fund. If an asset reconstruction company wants to act as a resolution applicant, then its net own fund requirement is 1000 crore. Asset reconstruction company, the minimum capital adequacy ratio required is 15%. 15%. Asset reconstruction company can invest in money market instruments, but not more than 10% of their net own fund. If they have surplus funds, sure, they can invest in the money market instruments, short-term instruments, but not more than 10% of their net own fund. Who has topped the recently released 6th edition of Hurun India Art List? This shows the richest artist of India. So you can see Anish Kapoor is rank 1, Gul Mohammad Sheikh from Baroda is rank 2, Anish Kapoor lives in London by the way, and Arpita Singh from Delhi. So answer is Anish Kapoor. He topped this list for 6th year in a row. For 6th year in a row. Now how much money did he make in 2023 selling his artwork? 79.9 crore. This is the money, and he is also awarded with Padma Bhushan, India's third highest civilian honor after Bharat Ratna and Padma Vibhushan. Gul Mohammad Sheikh, he earned around 21 crore rupees last year by selling his art, and Arpita Singh was at third position. Asian Development Bank committed what amount to India in sovereign lending? Sovereign lending means money given as a loan to the government of India. Sovereign lending in 2023. So ADB, India is a member of ADB since ADB was formed in 1966, and ADB committed to India $2.6 billion in 2023, and 68 members are there of ADB. 49 out of those are from Asia Pacific, and it is headquartered in Manila. India is the 4th largest shareholder in ADB. Which company has introduced a artificial intelligence platform called Lumen? Lumen has been launched by a company based in Delhi called NewGen Software. NewGen Software, right? Don't go too much into detail in this question, just remember the name. And Tata Consultancy Service, they have set up a Artificial Intelligence Center of Excellence in Paris recently. Also, there is one more Indian company called Socket AI Labs. This is a company based in Gurugram in Haryana, and they have launched an AI model called Pragna 1B. Pragna 1B. Which company has been placed in Titans category of the Times World's 100 most influential companies list? So Time magazine has given a list of 100 most influential companies of the world. There are multiple categories. One is called Titans. So Titans, Reliance and Tata Group both are placed in the Titans category. They also have a category called Pioneers, and Serum Institute of India from India has been put in the Pioneers category. There are 5 categories: Leaders, Titans, Pioneers, Innovators and Disruptors. So Serum Institute of India has been put in Pioneers category, and Reliance and Tata Group, they have been put in Titans category. World Employment and Social Outlook report May update. Global unemployment rate will be what percentage in 2024? So this is a report given by International Labour Organization, and they say that the global unemployment rate will ease to 4.9%. Now in 2023 it was 5%. So it will improve a little bit to 4.9%. 4.9%. This is what is said by International Labour Organization. Any other data that is worth noting? Well, they talk about jobs gap. Now, what is a jobs gap? Let me explain. They say that those people who want to work and those who are unemployed, so that is called jobs gap. So this report says that the number of those without a job and those wanting to work is 402 million. So there are 40.2 crore people in India. For those we don't have jobs, this is called jobs gap as per this report. State Bank of India, their economic research department, they have given a report. So according to them, India's GDP grew at what percent in the year that has already ended, financial year 24. So according to them, India's growth was 8%. And what is their projection for the current financial year? 7.5 to 8%. So NSO says 8.2, but SBI says 8%. So they have different methods of calculation. For example, SBI, their research department uses a model called Artificial Neural Network Model, ANN model. Artificial Neural Network Model, ANN model, is used by the SBI. Indian government has increased the maximum limit of retirement gratuity and death gratuity from 20 lakh to what amount? See, what is gratuity? If you work in any company for minimum 5 years, then you will get gratuity. So this is a benefit that is given by the employer to the employees if they work for minimum 5 years, right? And which act governs gratuity? It is the Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972. Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. So earlier the limit was 20 lakh, now it has been increased to 25 lakh. And once the dearness allowance increases by 50%, then the gratuity limit is increased. So the recent increase in DA to 50% led to automatic gratuity revision by the government of India. And this is a Gratuity comes under the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pension. Which organization and Global Environment Facility, they have launched a $135 million program called Blue and Green Islands Integrated Program to address the pressing environmental challenges faced by the small island developing states. See, there are 39 countries which are called small island developing countries, very, very small island countries like Mauritius, Maldives, Papua New Guinea, Comoros, Cuba, St. Lucia, Seychelles, Trinidad, Tobago, Timor-Leste, all of these countries. Now this program will run in how many countries out of 39? It will run in 15 countries. So 15 small island developing states, here states means country. So 15 countries have been selected out of 39. Okay. And SIDS, all the 39 countries, they met in their 4th annual meeting, which happened in recently Antigua and Barbuda. Antigua and Barbuda, and that is where Antigua and Barbuda is located in West Indies. So in the Caribbean, which is a part of the Atlantic Ocean. So this is a program started by United Nations Development Program in partnership with Global Environment Facility. See, Global Environment Facility will provide the funds for this program, 135 million, and the program will be managed by UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So what will they work on? They will work on preventing the environmental degradation in 3 sectors. That is urban development, food production, and tourism. So environment degradation that happens because of these 3 sectors, urban development, food production and tourism, they will work in these 3 sectors. This is worth knowing. As per the recently released report by Economist Intelligence Unit, which operates from London, Global Outlook report, global economy will grow at what % annualized in the next 5 years? According to Economist Intelligence Unit, global GDP is projected to grow at 2.8% over the next 5 years. So this will be the annualized growth. This will be the annualized growth, right, for the next 5 years, according to the Economist Intelligence Unit. And Economist Intelligence Unit, by the way, they also gave business environment rankings recently. Singapore has the best business environment. Singapore is number 1. India was ranked 51st position. National Statistical Office, Government of India, Ministry of Statistics, what was the real GDP growth rate of India? So this you know by now, 8.2%. And if they ask you, what was the nominal GDP growth rate of India? 9.6% was the nominal GDP growth rate of India. And what was the GVA growth rate of India? 7.2% was the GVA growth rate of India. Climate finance provided and mobilized by developed countries in 2023-2022, in these 10 years. Now developed countries, for the first time, they mobilized amount more than $100 billion for the first time. So how much amount did they give in climate financing to the developing countries? In 2022, it was more than $100 billion for the first time. It was $115.9 billion. And this is a report that was given by OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And, so $115.9 billion was the climate finance given by the developed countries to the developing countries in 2022. OECD, 38 countries are a member of OECD. India is not a member of OECD. OECD is based in Paris. Asia Pacific Employment and Social Outlook report was given by International Labour Organization. So the answer is ILO. And what does this report say? This report says that in 2024, the GDP growth rate of the Asia Pacific region will be 4.4%. 4.4%. Union government has contained the fiscal deficit of India at what % in the financial year 24? So the fiscal deficit of India, it eased a bit, and it came out to be 5.6% at the end of financial year 24, which is a big relief for the government of India. And what is their projection for the financial year 25, which is going on right now? 5.1% is their projection for financial year 25. Reserve Bank of India has moved 100 metric ton. Metric means 1000. So 100 means 100 into 1000, that is 1 lakh kg of gold. 1 lakh kg or 100 metric ton of gold stored in which of the following country to domestic vaults in financial year 24. And where are these domestic vaults located? So one is located on Mint Road in Mumbai and the second one is located in Nagpur. That is where RBI keeps its gold. Mint Road, Mumbai and Nagpur. So it was lying in British vaults. Now we have moved it back to India, and this is the first time since 1991 that India has moved such a heavy scale of gold, 1 lakh kg. And how much gold RBI has? So when the financial year 24 ended, RBI had 822.1 metric ton of gold, or 8,22,000 kg. And how much was the addition? So this is at the end of the financial year. But in financial year 24, how much gold was added by the RBI? 27.46 metric ton. This was the gold that was added in 1 year. And when the year ended, total was 822.1 metric ton. And we have a World Gold Council that is headquartered in London. Haryana government is launching a project worth 10,000 crore, Haryana Clean Air Project for Sustainable Development. Which organization is funding this project? This is a project that is being funded by the World Bank. The answer is World Bank, and it is a project that will run for 10 years in Haryana for cleaning the air. Which organization has launched Bank Clinic initiative to assist the bank customers with grievance redressal? See, for grievance redressal, you already have a bank ombudsman, right? Now you have integrated ombudsman, but there is one more way, which is Bank Clinic. So it is launched by All India Bank Employees Association. All India Bank Employees Association was set up in 1946. It is basically a union of the bank employees across India. It is headquartered in Chennai. And they have started this Bank Clinic thing. There is a website, Bank Clinic website, where you can go and file your grievance, and within 5 days you will get a reply. So you can approach ombudsman also. This is one more way you can get your grievance resolved. United Nations Global Supply Chain Forum was held for the first time ever in Barbados's capital Bridgetown. This event was organized by which organization? It was organized by UN Trade and Development to sort out the supply chain issues, the operational issues that are going on in the world because of global disruptions, wars, geopolitical tensions, climate change, etc. And they will have their second Global Supply Chain Forum in 2026 in Saudi Arabia. World Health Organization has launched a new investment round aiming to raise what amount of funds over 4 years to support the countries to tackle global challenges. So WHO is saying that they will raise $7 billion over next 4 years to support countries to tackle global challenges. Global challenges like poverty, inequality, climate change, and all of these. Which ministry has signed MOU with 4 banks to onboard them as Sparsh Center? Sparsh means System for Pension Administrator Raksha Service Center. This is the Ministry of Defense. Under the Sparsh system, they partner with the public sector banks and the private banks to increase the reach. So now these 4 banks which Ministry of Defense has partnered with the Bank of India, Canara Bank, Central Bank of India, and Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. These are the 4 banks with which the Ministry of Defense has partnered under Sparsh. So they will provide last mile connectivity to pensioners in the remote areas especially. And you can also do your digital annual identification, data verification. You can check your monthly pension. I mean, all these services will be provided free of cost. India participated in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity Clean Economy Investor Forum. Where was it held? Now IPEF, there are 14 countries which are a part of IPEF, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity, countries like India, America, all these big, large countries, you know. And this is a meeting that happened in Singapore recently, and IPEF was created in May 2022. This organization has 14 members and there are 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is trade, pillar number 2 is supply chain, pillar number 3 is clean economy, and pillar number 4 is fair economy. So this investor forum was for pillar number 3, that is clean economy. India's third largest export destination was which country? We exported the maximum in America. Second was UAE, third was Netherlands. And we have a trade surplus with all the 3 countries, America, UAE, and Netherlands. Right? So how much we exported to Netherlands, by the way, any idea about it? We exported $22.36 billion to Netherlands. And what do we export to Netherlands? We export electrical goods, chemicals, medicines, pharmaceuticals, even petroleum products. And we have a trade surplus of more than $17 billion with Netherlands. So we export so much and we import next to nothing. So the trade surplus is a massive 17.4 billion. So Netherlands has now become the third largest export country for India. Understood? And we even received a lot of FDI also from Netherlands, right? If you talk about the countries from which we received FDI, Singapore was number 1, Mauritius number 2, US number 3, and Netherlands in fact was 4th. After Singapore, Mauritius, and US, $4.92 billion of FDI came from Netherlands to India, and 5th was Japan. Which of the following company is set to develop a global economic hub in Navi Mumbai? And this is a contract worth 13,400 crore. So this will be Reliance Industries Limited. They will set up a global economic hub in Navi Mumbai on 3,750 acres of land. Which of the following organization has made a world record highest ever number of transactions in a single day were handled on 5th of June. On 4th of June, election results came, market crashed. Next day, of course, people wanted to make amends. They wanted to recuperate their money. So there were a lot of orders on the National Stock Exchange. Total number of orders were 1971 crore orders. And how many trades were there? So 28.55 crore trades happened on that day. This is a world record. Which country has partnered with NPCI International Payment to launch UPI in first South American country? It is Peru. So NIPL, which is the overseas arm of NPCI, it launched UPI in partnership with the Central Reserve Bank of Peru, which is their central bank, and UPI services will be now available in Peru. And this company NIPL was created by NPCI in 2020. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of NPCI. Recently, which country has launched Asia's first spot Bitcoin and Ether exchange traded fund in a step towards becoming virtual asset investment hub of the region? This is Hong Kong. Hong Kong wants to become the virtual asset investment hub, and that is why it has launched Asia's first spot Bitcoin and Ether exchange traded fund. Exchange traded funds are investment funds that are traded on stock exchange just like stocks. RBI made a committee to examine digital public infrastructure for digital payment intelligence platform. Who will be the chairman? The chairman of this will be Mr. Abhay Prasad Hota. He is the former managing director and CEO of NPCI. World Wealth Report. According to this report, the number of high net worth individuals in India. To qualify as a high net worth individual, your minimum net worth should be $1 million. That is the bare minimum. You should have 8.5 crore. So the number of such individuals increased by what percent in 2023? And this is a report which has been given by Capgemini Research Institute, which is based in Paris. So the number of high net worth individuals in India has increased by 12.2%. How many people in India currently are in this category? The total number, I mean, in India. So the total number of people in India who belong to this category is 35.89 lakh. There are 35.89 lakh people in India who have at least $1 million. And RBI monetary policy, what was the repo rate? So I have explained this in circular, 6.5%. It did not change. Bank of England is replacing old banknotes featuring Queen Elizabeth with new ones featuring whom? So new one will feature their king, King Charles III. A world of debt, a growing burden to global prosperity. Global public debt has been reported at $97 trillion in 2023. Who gave this report? So this is a report that has been given by United Nations Trade and Development, that is based in Geneva. Now, what is the meaning of public debt, global public debt, and what is the difference between global debt and global public debt? So global public debt means the money that is borrowed by the governments of all the countries put together, whether it is internal borrowing or external borrowing. Governments borrow that is called global public debt. So I'll tell you the total debt. See, the total debt in the world, you can say the global debt, it is made up of three types of debts. Okay, one is the household debt. The households also borrow money. People like you and me, we also borrow money. The business debt, the businesses also borrow a lot of money. And the government debt, also called the public debt. So there are three types of debt. Okay, household debt is around $59.1 trillion. Business debt is $164.5 trillion. And public debt, as I said, is $91 trillion, $97 trillion, something like that. If you do the total, it comes out to be what? So it comes out to be $315 trillion. So $315 trillion is the global debt. Now that's a lot of debt. Why? Because this is 3 times of the global GDP. You know, all the countries of the put together, you take their GDP. This is 3 times of that. And what is the population of the world? 810 crore people are there. So every person will need to pay $39,000 to pay off this debt, global debt, which is not possible at all. I mean, so the debt is like huge, debt is huge, right? So global public debt is around $97 trillion. Business debt is around this much, and household debt, total debt is $315 trillion. Who among the following has been appointed as Director General of ESIC? ESIC works under the Ministry of Labour. Kamal Kishore Sohn is the Director General. RBI, they started 3rd Global Hackathon Harbinger. What was the prize for winners? The answer is 40 lakh. We have covered in circular. Export-Import Bank of India, they have opened their third office in Africa. At which place? They have opened it in Nairobi. Their first office was in Abidjan, capital of Ivory Coast. Second one was in Johannesburg, which is a city in South Africa. And now third one they have opened in Kenya's capital Nairobi. Export-Import Bank of India, which is a All India finance institution. Which company has become the first computer chip company to hit a market cap of $3 trillion? This is a company called NVIDIA. It is a company owned by Jensen Huang. And recently they have launched a AI platform called Rubin, and they have also launched a chip called B200, or you can call it Blackwell. So B200 or Blackwell is another AI chip that has been launched by NVIDIA. Which organization has been given Best Conduct of Business Regulator Award in Asia Pacific by the Asian Banker magazine, which operates from Singapore? So Best Conduct of Business Regulator in the entire Asia Pacific is SEBI, the Capital Market Regulator of India. Prime Minister of India, he authorized release of which installment of PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana recently that benefited more than 9 crore farmers. So basically this scheme was started on 24th of February 2019, and since the commencement of the scheme, this was the 17th installment. Now you get 3 installments of 2,000 rupees every year. 6,000 rupees every year is given to the farmers. This is a scheme run by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare. Who has been given Ernst & Young EY World Entrepreneur of the Year Award? So he is the chairman of the company Cholamandalam Finance. His name is Velayan Subbiah. Which organization has signed a MOU with the Atal Incubation Center at the Anna University Foundation to boost the startup ecosystem? This is Andhra Chamber of Commerce, which is based in Chennai, and even the Anna University is based in Chennai. So the Atal Incubation Center that is located in Anna University has signed an agreement with Andhra Chamber of Commerce to boost the startup ecosystem. World Bank's Container Port Performance Index, the best port performance in the world. In the top 20, there is one Indian port. Which one is that? It is Visakhapatnam Container Terminal Private Limited, which is run by a private company called JM Baxi. You can see the list. You can see that 19th position is Visakhapatnam Port. In top 20, there is only one. And then Mundra Port in Gujarat is at 27th position. Best port performance is Yangshan of China. Second is Salalah of Oman. Third is Cartagena from Colombia. Which organization has launched a new corporate identity for their infrastructure investment trust, also called InvIT? InvITs are infrastructure trust where they pool money from the people and they invest it in infrastructure projects. And then whatever is the profit, they give as dividend to the investors. So National Highway Infra Trust is what it is called. They will pool around 15 to 20,000 crore from people. So this is a InvIT launched by NHAI, National Highway Authority of India. Global Economic Prospect is the main report of the World Bank. According to them, what will be India's GDP growth rate for financial year 25? So we are currently in financial year 25 only, and World Bank is a very credible organization. So according to them, we will grow at 6.6% in financial year 25. What about financial year 26? What about financial year 27? In financial year 26, they are saying we will grow at 6.7%. And in financial year 27, we will grow at 6.8%. Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. Food constitutes 46% of the total household consumption expenditure in rural India. This report is released by whom? This is a report which is released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And this is a survey done every 5 years, right? So for 2022-23, it was released recently. And Household Consumption Expenditure Survey tells us how much a person spends per month in India on household expenditure, right? So this is a survey done by NSO, National Statistical Office, which works under Ministry of Statistics every 5 years. So what does this survey say? Well, this survey says that, in India, if you talk about in India, the food is the main expenditure, food is the main expenditure. So 46% in the rural area, 46% of the monthly budget in the rural area goes in food, and 39% of the budget in the urban area is spent on the food every month. 46% in the rural area and 39% of the urban area budget is spent on the food. So that is what this report says. Now, another thing it says is which states in India spend maximum on the monthly expenditure. So that is called monthly per capita expenditure. It is the highest in India in Sikkim. In both the rural and the urban area, it is highest in Sikkim, and it is the lowest in Chhattisgarh in both the rural and the urban areas. Among the Union Territory, It is highest in Chandigarh in both the rural and the urban area, and it is lowest in Ladakh in the rural area and Lakshadweep in the urban area. So this you have to remember. Union Ministry of Finance has recommended limiting the arbitration clauses in the government contracts to disputes under what amount. So look, there are two parties, party number one, party number two. If they have a dispute, they can obviously go to the court. But if one of the party is a government department or a government ministry or any government department, then you can do arbitration also. You can settle it outside the court. But that is limited to 10 crore worth of claim. If you want more than 10 crore worth of claim, or the dispute is more than 10 crore worth, then you have to approach court. Arbitration is only possible when one of the parties is a government department and there is a cap of 10 crore. World Energy Investment Report has come. So the global investment in clean energy technology and infrastructure, clean energy infrastructure will be what in 2024. So this report says that the investment in the total energy will be $3 trillion, but in clean energy will be $2 trillion. The answer is $2 trillion. And this is a report given by International Energy Agency headquartered in Paris. India and which country have signed local currency settlement system aimed at transforming their economic relation? They will trade in local currency, dirham and rupee. The answer is UAE. Their currency is dirham, our is rupee. We have also signed it with Nigeria. We will trade in their local currency called Naira. And we have also signed it with Indonesia. We will trade in Rupiah. Our currency is rupee and there is Rupiah. Indian technology startup Pixel, Sarvam AI, Niramai and other 7. So total 10 startups of India have been featured in Technology Pioneers list. Who gave this list? This is a list given by the World Economic Forum. World Economic Forum. IRDAI has approved the appointment of which person as the chairman of the board of director of ICICI Prudential Life Insurance Company? What is his name? His name is Mr. Sandeep Batra. Which company has made history by becoming the first fund house to manage worth 10 lakh crore of assets under management? Which mutual fund? This is the SBI mutual fund. It now has 10 lakh crore of assets under management. Which bank has become the first bank in India to introduce a soundbox? The name is NFC Soundbox. It is based on NFC technology, near field communication technology. It can accept tap payment, PIN payment. Tap is your contactless payment. You don't have to enter the PIN. And it can even have transactions greater than 5,000 rupees. Merchants can accept transaction greater than 5,000 rupees via card instrument. So this is an innovative solution by Axis Card in partnership with MasterCard. So Axis Bank in partnership with MasterCard have launched NFC Soundbox. It can receive all types of payment. Bharat QR, UPI, tap and pay, tap and pin, all types. Which organization has launched Saarthi 2? It's an updated version of previous app to simplify concepts on personal finance for the investor. Investor education videos are there, So Saarthi, the previous app was launched in January 2022. Now the second updated version has been launched by SEBI. The answer is Security and Exchange Board of India. Which organization has cancelled the planned auction of 10-year green bonds as traders refuse to pay the greenium? See, this made me smile because Indian people, they are worried only about the returns. They are not able to compromise on greenium. What is greenium? Greenium is the green premium. So for example, if there is a bag you are buying for 200 rupees and I say, look, I have a better bag. It is environment friendly. Pay me 400. Will you pay extra 200 for buying a bag that has been made that has no carbon footprint? Depends from person to person. Some will say, okay, I'm supporting the environment, but some will be like, no, I am happy with 200 rupees bag. This is 200 rupees extra premium you are paying for environment friendly things. Similarly, on bonds, government says I am giving 8% interest. By green bond, I am paying 6%. I am paying 2% less because I will invest it in green projects. Are you willing to take a 2% hit on the interest rate? That is called greenium. Greenium is the premium that you pay for green, for ESG, for making it a better world. Now the government of India, they had a target. What was the target? That they will issue green bonds worth 12,000 crore in the first half of the financial year 25. In the first 6 months of the financial year 25, they will issue green bonds worth 12,000 crore. Now they have cancelled the auction of 10-year green bond because traders were not able to willing to pay. They were not able to. They were not willing to pay the greenium. They were reluctant to accept low interest on their investment. I mean, shame on us really. So answer is RBI. RBI has cancelled the auction of 10-year green bonds. SEBI has made a committee to review the ownership structure of clearing corporations. Who is the chairman? Chairman is Usha Thorat. NSE Indices Limited is a subsidiary of National Stock Exchange. It has launched India's first electric vehicle index called Nifty EV and New Age Automotive Index. It tracks the performance of the EV companies. If you want to invest in EV sector, this is one good index. Similarly, Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance Company has changed its name. New name is Edelweiss Life Insurance. They have removed the word Tokyo from it. And their tagline is Zindagi Unlimited. Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund Company, one of the biggest mutual fund companies of India, they are the first one to launch a defense index fund, India's first index fund. It will have 15 defense companies like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, Gardner Shipbuilder, Bharat Electronics Limited, Bharat Dynamics Limited. People are investing huge in defense stocks because they are giving good returns. So they have launched now index fund that will track the performance of 15 companies. So if you invest in this defense index fund, your money will be put in these 15 defense companies. Understood? This is launched by Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund. Bank of Maharashtra has launched MahaDoc scheme. It is willing to give loans to the doctor, whether you are MBBS doctor, BDS dental, Ayurvedic doctor, homeopathy doctor or physiotherapist, BPT. You can take loan up to 25 crore under MahaDoc scheme from Bank of Maharashtra. That was a video banking awareness for the month of June, set 1 in English. I'll see you in set 2. Thank you for watching Study IQ.